recording on. Here we are again. You might hear my son in the back again. He's right outside my office. So, alright, so let's go again. So, all of these have a material. Let's convert the couch. I think it comes in with a material for itself. That's all scene converter. Alright, so let's put this on a. I like to put them on layers. So, this is the roof, especially the roof. So I can come in and freeze it. But when it's frozen, I can still select it easily. So it's frozen, but it's still selectable. So let's go to properties and let's show for display as box. Reason why I like to look inside the model and I like to check from above when I'm adding things. So let's go in and add a camera. Let's go on TW70. So it's sticky, I think, because I had design connected open. I don't know why that happened, but design connector sometimes make the whole thing slow. Alright, so let's pick a camera angle so we can quickly go back. So this is the camera angle. I just press Ctrl C. I have a camera set. So you can go to cameras, select the camera. No, I can't. It's on the roof layer. Oh. So select the camera, let's put it on 0 layer, let's lock by the roof, and let's lock the camera. So lock all. So this script here allows me to lock anything basically. So now you select the camera, nothing moves. Usually before I was doing it inside of the hierarchy tab, inside of link info, you go in and you just tick all of these or untick them and these items are automatically locked, but this tool basically makes it easier for you instead of clicking all of those X, Y, Z locks. Alright. First, let's add some light. So, open this. Let's add a map inside of here, which is a HDRI. Let's try. I think based on this image, it's sunny outside, but I'm gonna give it some overcast feel because there's no sunlight, direct sunlight coming inside the room itself, so you don't see the rays of the sun or the sharp edges from sunlight coming in. So I'll use just a regular HDRI without so much direct sunlight. So I brought it inside of the material editor. Let's go search for a HDRI. So HDRI. Let's go to CG source and samples. And I have this one here, so I'll use this sample. So you can get these free from CG source. These are just tiny HDRI images, but they're very fast. Change the gamma to 2.2 and change the mapping to spherical. I have the Fstorm options here on the toolbar, so I have the Fstorm RT mode, Fstorm properties, scene converter, and light lister. I like to keep them here on the toolbar, it makes life easier. Alright, so let's bring these up and let's give this one let's give this one a multiply of 10, 20. So that's the environment. Multiply, I'm just raising. And let's make this a little bigger. It's 900. And let's pump up the brightness with the exposure in the tone map settings. So something like that. Let's change the white balance. So basically I came here, white balance, just picked white balance. Let's reduce it a little bit more. I think something like this is good. I usually keep this on the second screen, so it's hard to work with this up. Alright, so you see everything here as reflection, which I don't need, so walls. I can turn off the reflection for the walls. Well, I can add a little bit roof. I don't need it so much, I can add a little bit. And what I like to add for roofs is a little bump. So I'll use the Fstorm noise. And it should add some nice bump to the ceiling. You can see it here already. If I give it a sec. I'm using 4 GPUs now actually to render, so if you go to Fstorm GPU manager, I'm using 4 GPUs. This 970 is actually just for my monitors. Alright, so you can see the bump here on the ceiling. Let's go in and let's turn that down to 0.2. Just gives it some texture. Wall here also is too bright. It's too reflective. Alright, so let's put this back to 1. I like to also play with it here. It's kind of more intuitive. 0.6 coming from V-Ray, I'm used to using just the colors. Alright, so now we change the glossy values of the floor. So my floor needs to be a concrete texture. Alright, let's try this. So for the floor, let's add a diffuse. Let's add a Fstorm noise. So right away you can see what's going on. Change the glossiness to 0.5, 0.6. Let's add the attenuation to 1, so basically almost sharpens up the image and breaks up the pattern, makes it smaller. So it using just the Fstorm noise, you can see it looks pretty much like concrete to some extent. It's not exactly like the image, but we're gonna be getting there soon. So let's come here and let's add a Fstorm color correction. And that's to the noise, and let's change the gamma, lower it to make it darker, something like so. Let's give it more of a yellowy orange color. So let's come here, but not this orange. So let's basically just lower the saturation. I see something like this might work, but as you can see now it's uniform, the glossiness is uniform and the reflection, so let's break that up a little bit also. Alright, so let's duplicate this Fstorm color correction. Sorry, it's really hard to see. Color correction here, let's drop this in the reflection glossiness slot. And let's drop this inside the reflection. It's awesome. Maybe I'll add this one here inside the reflection instead, so it doesn't have this yellow color. Maybe this yellow is even too much. And yeah, maybe something like that. Maybe it's even too dark for my liking, basically. It looks too dirty. Alright, let's go back to the camera and see how it looks. So I'm using the latest NVIDIA driver also, which I think it's slower. It should have been faster, but doesn't seem to be. Alright, so let's pause this. So usually I just pause it right here. Then I make some changes. So let's go in and change this wall. Let's add this part of the wall, basically this part that bulges out right here. And alright, so I think this needs to be, based on the image here, this one is a little bit more desaturated, a little bit more yellowy looking wall. Let's go in and try to change it with the color balance, white balance. So it's a little bit more yellowy. Less green. Now let's try this blue. Something like that. And let's pump up the whites for the walls. I usually make it about 230, 240. Something like that. Alright, so this should be okay for this part of it. Yeah, I think it's good. Alright, let's add some roundness to the corners here. So usually what I'll do, sometimes it's very hard to go in and pick the corner exactly that you need. So sometimes I'll go in and in this case I don't need this. Try to go down here to the bottom. In this case I don't need. Sometimes I'll go in and I'll create a sphere somewhere near when I need to get really close, and just zoom into that sphere, and you actually with Fstorm you get to zoom in really close to objects, like these little corners for example. Alright, so what I want to do here is I want to actually add a round to the edges of the wall so it looks more natural. So I'll go to the walls and I'll just add roundness 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, let's see how this 0.3. Let's see how this looks. Did I do the walls? Yeah. Let's try one, let's see what happens. So let's go to a different edge to see what's going on. So right here. Let's go to 0.5. Let's make sure this right material is applied to these walls. Strange. Usually you'll see the changes right away. Just try it again. Same object. Alright, so maybe the issue is, say double-sided on. So let's check same object, and we're gonna see the change actually of this here. So 0.2, 0.1, 0.0. Let's see what happens. So basically 0.1 was too large. Customize unit setup. Let's see what's wrong. Everything seems fine. Usually 0.1 works good. Alright, so let's put it at 0.02. Alright, so now you see the roundness of the corners and near to the bottom, which gives it a nice look for the material itself and the room overall. So let's find this bad boy, delete it. So as you can see, it looks pretty good. Round corners, round edges. Let's give it a little bit more. 0.03. Yeah, just a little bit more roundness on the corners here instead of adding it in geometry. Basically, we have this room so far. So let's go into the window and we'll add a portal. Usually speeds things up rendering. So the portal, one of the trick Andre suggested was just to go in, tessellate the mesh so you get the smoother. So materials, Fstorm, portal. Oh, let's see how that looks. So with the portal added, let's check if the portal is facing the right direction. So when it's usually, it needs to be flipped. It needs to be, the correct normal needs to be pointing into the room. Alright, here we go. A lot brighter. So let's turn on our exposure. I think this is good for now. Alright, so we need to go in and add this kind of door, sliding door. I think I have already some inside of the model bank, so let's find one. So as you can see, this is actually rendering pretty fast. I'm already at 1,000 samples. Let's go to the kernel settings and let's put this up to like 5,000. I like to keep it at 5,000. GI clamp. Alright, the issue with this, a lot of people usually are asking questions about this, but when you drop the GI clamp, the image gets darker. In places where there are shadows, you can see if you raise the exposure, it brings back the brightness of the room. But as you can see in the dark shadows in the corners, it still stays dark and gives it sort of a ugly look. So I usually keep my GI clamp at 1. I mean, it should render slower according to Andre, but I prefer when it's at 1. If you put it to 1.5, it gives even nicer, lighter shadows, basically, especially in corners where you have these dark edges. Well, 1 is okay for this scene. Let's drop the exposure. Let's change the burn value to -0.5. So so we can see more of the sky and there's less of this burn spot here. We can raise the exposure maybe a little bit more. Alright, one thing I like to do is I created a LUT, my own LUT, so I like to actually use this LUT when I work. So LUTs, and let's use this LUT. So it basically gives the image a greenish tone and some contrast. So as you can see, it's a greenish yellowish tone. It's very soft. So I usually just change this to 0.4 or something. So it's still there working, but it just gives it a nice image. And you see these kind of nice soft yellowy whites on sites like Dwell for magazines, etc. Dwell for furniture, Dwell for house. You see those shots that they do inside of interior photography, of interiors I mean, and those photographers usually process the images and give them this kind of a nice white tone. So it's already at 5,000 samples. Alright, what I normally do is I drop this noise threshold to 0.001, and minimum samples I like to change it to 0.2. So this is supposed to be, so basically the adaptivity. Fstorm starts to be adaptive when it reaches 0.2%. I think 5. When it's at, let's put it at 2% of this. So whatever 2% is of 5,000, Fstorm starts to be adaptive at that point, which makes it faster. So let's pause this and let's find ourselves it's already almost fully rendered, as you can see. Well, this is just 900 by 675, but it's really fast. Alright, let's find ourselves one of these kind of sliding window doors. Sorry, it's Sunday. Alright, let's bring our back connector. I'm going to position it right here. So I'm actually in connector on the next screen, so I'm just finding myself some windows sliding. Not really. Here we go. And this one is good. I usually just import it like this so I can actually see what I'm importing, because sometimes there are helpers, lights inside cameras which you don't need. So by just picking a normal merge option from connector helps me to see exactly which models I'm dragging and dropping in side of my scene. The issue with connector is sometimes it doesn't come in. Oh yeah, it came in the right place. Alright, so alright, this seems to have many parts to it. Very slow. Alright, so this has 35 parts to it, so let's just make it a group. And as you can see, I'm clicking and it's actually not moving now. It's like taking a while to update. Usually that happens when connector is on. So as soon as I turn connector off, you can see it almost comes back to the regular speed, but it sometimes is iffy and very sticky. So solution to that is to close Mockups and reopen it. So let's save this scene. I'm gonna save the scene and reopen the scene. It should be faster by the time we do that. So come on. Save the scene and we'll call this Did I? Let's call this volume I work, and let's put it inside of the scene, so we'll call this sofa scene. So we call this sofa scene 01. Alright, let's close this and reopen this scene. Alright, so there's one thing I need to show you. The project file itself. I usually use Mux. Mux is project file system. So I have all my files here in my work folder. This is my main work folder. And this is the folder we're actually working inside of now. Paulina scenes. So all my scenes here are stored. So when you go inside of this folder, you'll see archives. These are the default folders created by Mux. And you might end up using quite a few of these. So there's no need to change them. They're pretty much okay. So let's bring back up Mux. Let's reopen it. Alright, so let's switch to that project folder. I think I didn't from before. So let's find that project folder. Let's find that project folder. Here it is. So I just switched it from here, project folder. So let's find that sofa scene 01. So see how much better it runs. I think it's just design. I don't know. Design Connector has some issues. This new version of Design Connector has a few issues. So the sliding door, the sliding part is about up top here. So let's bring this part here. It's important not to let things too much intersect the wall, at least where the little when I click F4 to turn on and off the edges, as you can see the edges are still on. So what I normally do is I go to configure viewports, display selected with edges, edge faces. I usually untick that. So when I press F4 I can see the model with and without faces really fast. So just basically slide this closer. And let's just add a edit poly on top of this. Some things I really don't care about right now because you won't see them, they're not even so important. So this one is here, and I think I can just come like this, copy, and go inside and just grab these. And let's just grab these ones. Let's just open the group. Delete this one, I don't need. I think this one, let's copy this one over here. Slide this here. And let's stretch this. Alright, so good. Group close. Let's drag this inside here. So some things I have the liberty to change, so don't worry if it doesn't seem exactly like the original. So let's drag this up to here. And this to here. Maybe like that. Fstorm scene converter. Let's see what happens. So let's run Fstorm. Now what I like to normally do is I like to keep this on number 7 so I see how many, you can see how many polys are in my scene. I normally like to keep that on. because that's very important when using Fstorm. Now let's load this camera. Select camera. Let's add a camera correction modifier. Let's add some more. Bump up the exposure for this scene a little bit. Alright, so there's one tip. Johan is showed for glass. Let's go into that tip and basically let's select the windows. Group open. So open. See if I can select the glass here. No, I can't. So let's grab the glass and let's detach this glass. Detach. So this glass is now detached and it has it's double glazed. So let's just do this. So let's just select face mode, just one face, and let's detach that. And let's delete this these parts. So it's just a thin plane we actually have here left. Delete that one also. Let's go into this one. Let's delete the glass also inside of this one. Alright, so there's one glass here. This glass here is, where is it? So this glass here, I'll be dragging it here, so it serves as a pane for this back one here. And maybe this is not so correct, but I'm going to drag it all the way across to here. Let's create the material for the glass, which is Histone. Call it glass. So let's change this to black. I'm using the Corona color picker here. There are many more color pickers I think you can choose from. 1000. So let's change the IOR to 1000, and inside the opacity, let's change it to fall off. And we use the IOR options. So basically, you can bump this up to get it a little more shiny. So let's apply this to the glass. Let's see if we do have it. Alright, so we're going to apply this to the glass. Let's change the glassiness back to 1 and glossy fernal to 1. It makes it just a little more glossy at the right glazing angle. Grazing angle. Sorry. Or glazing. Not sure. Alright, so now this should actually allow more light in the room and there's no refraction going on, so it doesn't affect the render time so much. So this is the scene. Let's see where we are so far. This is where we are. The sofa is not so important to me yet. For the exterior, I don't even care about it for now because that's going to be replaced in Photoshop later on. So the wall is a little bit concretey, I see in this image. So we could use a concrete mop, or we can use the same texture as the floor. So let's just duplicate it. Maybe we'll need to change 1 or 2 things. So it's procedural, it's just the Fstorm noise basically inside of the texture. So this is how it looks on the wall. Actually, I don't need it to have any color. So I'll move that. But let's do something here. Let me just resize this. Alright, so let's just change the diffuse. So inside this is going to be the new wall. Wall 2. And let's just change the diffuse to 230 and 40, 235. And let's change the diffuse here. This is the blending between this color and the mop. 20%. Let's see how this looks. Basically, I just needed to get a little bit of that noise, roughness from the noise on the wall. Let's just make a selection here to see better. Let's just look at the reference image. Yeah, as you can see, it's very similar, but I don't need it to be exactly the same. Just add a little more glossiness to this one, 0.8, and let's change the blending mode to 50. So it's going to be a little bit more glossy. Also the reflection to 50, so the map doesn't totally control the reflection and glossiness on the wall. It's not such an interesting project, but at least you guys can see. Let's move around a little bit. These white sofas are very boring. Let's see the material they have for the sofa. Alright, so let's see the sofa material. Where is it? Let's grab this material, see what it looks like. Hold on, they're bringing up the reference. Some grayish, bluish sofa. So let's change this one to mix. That's inside the diffuse of the texture. And let's change this one to some bitmap. See what this bitmap looks like. Let's get rid of it. Let's change this to one Fstorm color. I'm gonna make it this kind of grayish, purplish, bluish, something like that. Let's saturate it. And let's give it a white a little bit. Alright, for the fall off, let's add a fall off in this. And let's try to get it less. Let me show you what I mean. So less of this red. We're gonna try to get less of this red on the couch itself. So let's show. So this is gonna give it that nice soft feeling. So much less of the red. So now we can change it back to this color. So I want it just to be a little bit lighter. This fall off black color. So basically, here's the sofa. And let's give it a speckled look. So for this we can change this to Fstorm mix. Keep the old map, put it into the texture 2 slot. Let's see if this is correct. Let's give this same texture here in texture 1. And let's change this to the noise map. Let's see if this works. So basically looking for that patchy look. Let's make this a little bit darker. This one also maybe. And what we could do is just add a color correction here. And let's make it more contrasty. This is the Fstorm noise map basically, so it's controlling how much of a fall off there is, or a difference there is between this purple and this less purple color of the couch. So this is too much contrast, as we drop it to about I don't know, something like that. I think this is okay. Compared to the reference image, I think it's fine. It's not exactly the same, but it's okay for now. For the exterior, let's find some. Let's see, this is maybe a little bit too yellow. Let me just change the color balance a little bit more. A little bit more. Yeah, something like this, and this. Pump up the brightness just a little bit more. Let's play with this glare option. Where is it? So power. Let's change it to 0.1. We have a lot of glare. Let's change the size to 0.1. I think 0.05 might be okay. So it's less glare coming from the outside. Contrast doesn't need to be contrasty. You can just have this nice, when it's contrasty, give this sharper edges to the glare. Well, maybe it's okay. Depends. If it's a light source, then having this contrast usually shows how many how much of the rays are there actually. So it looks like, can look like a star. How many points of a star there are is based on this rays number. It's like having no contrast makes it just smooth. Alright, so this is how it looks so far. Let's add something. Let's add a background. Let's just search for a background. So basically this background is having like, let's just type in backyard. Just down here, backyard and trees. Let's see what we get. So let's go to tools, size, large. Maybe like this. Maybe like this. Maybe like this. Maybe like this. So we'll pick any one of these. So let's try them. Save image as. Materials. Let's call this background. This one. Oh, this one is too low quality. It's maybe a little bit too yellow. Whatever. And where did this one go? Save image. Let's see if this one works. So in the new Fstorm, you have the option to go in and add a map for the alpha environment. So I'll come in here, add a Histone bitmap. Drag it in here. Background, let's just pick this one. Let's see how this one looks. Alright, so I'm gonna change this to screen. So let's bring it up some more. It looks like it's not too much. Maybe like that. Let's see. Let's go to the camera angle. So basically when it's set to screen, it doesn't change. It's always the same position no matter where you view it from. Yeah, let's see, compare it to the reference image. Here's a line of the ground outside near the wall. Here's a line of the ground outside near the wall. Maybe a little bit less down, more down. Something like that. And I think it's going good so far. We can maybe bump up the brightness, or one thing I like to do is I like to come here with the gamma and just drop the gamma some more so it gives the image a sharper look. You can also do the same thing with the contrast, but the gamma does it, gives it a nicer look in the material itself. So the gamma, pretty nice. Alright, so let's mess with the ceiling, the roof. Let's make it a little darker. Alright, before we even mess with the roof, usually what happens is however dark the floor is, it affects the rest of the room. So it's nice that Fstorm has the option now to come in and add a Fstorm, override material. So basically I can tell the floor to just have a white GI. So let's add this floor, so the illumination it gives off is just white. So as you can see, immediately the room gets bright. So it doesn't darken the room. So whatever color I can have, red, yellow, whatever color here for the floor, and it doesn't affect the room itself. So let's go to the roof and let's see what color. Let's bump up the whites for the roof to 240. Immediately it looks a lot better, a lot more life. I think I need a curtain. So add a curtain here. Get ourselves a curtain and a floor lamp. This one is quite weird, but anyway. Back to connector. Let's pause this. And let's grab ourselves a curtain. So I'm just looking at model bank on the next screen for a curtain. Most of these are from 3D Sky, so should not be a problem for you guys to find some curtains. Curtains. Come on. Alright, I think I like this one. This one. I like this one. Let's bring this one in. So let's rotate this curtain in place. So it looks like it's blowing in the wind where the door is slide it open. So group open. Let's see what happens. This is a very fragmented curtain. Alright, so let's do this group close, group open. And this is the pole. I need the pole. So let's grab one part of this curtain, convert. Let's go to attach list. Attach everybody together. Seems to be some scan model or something. Convert it to poly. And Control A, and let's do some welding. Wow. 0.01. Okay. This should be good. Select that. It's geometry, detach. I think I don't even need the pole of this thing anymore. It's supposed to be hidden somewhere inside here. I'll make that cavity later on. Let's see if I can see this one in this scene. Just mirror this one. Maybe it's gonna be looking better. I think it won't. So smart thing is to just scale this one a little bit. Maybe it's gonna be messed up. Maybe not. Let's bring it back into the scene a little bit. Something like that, maybe. Let's now scene converter. Let's see how these bad boys look. Quite okay. Let's just bring a cavity. Bring back some. You just check something with this image here, so it's behind it actually. Let's see what's going on here with our roof. Let's just make something inside here. Inside. Okay, like that. Extrude. Something like that. Let's try this. Let's see how it looks. Let's just scale this a little bit. We have freedom. Alright, so I want to make sure these curtains don't pass through the floor, so I normally just grab the align tool, click the floor, untick the X and Y position. I want the minimum of the curtain to align to the maximum of the floor. I think this is fine. Let's check the material of the curtain. Hopefully it's not something crazy. Alright, so translucency, they have a map inside. They don't need, so you can go in with translucency and add a map for yourself. Or can be a translucency fall off map. Sometimes the fall off map looks better. Let's see, it's not. No fall off. Let's bring it back up. Something like that. And I think there's gonna be pure white, so let's bring it back down a little bit. So not pure white. Add a little bit of yellow inside. Yellow, pink, yellow. Something like that for the curtains. Just compare it to this reference. Greens outside are a lot greener, so let's play with that a little bit. So you see these maps are all over the place. If I come here and I click layout horizontal, I like to use that one, lays out all the maps. Let's drop the gamma for this, let's see what happens. Yep, so we're getting some column back and some contrast in the exterior. Drop the gamma some more. Oof, it's really hard to work on one screen. Drop the gamma some more. Okay. So when I drop the gamma here, I can go into the Fstorm multiplier for the environment and bump this one up. So I can move this to 100. And see, it should be very bright. But let's put it at 2, 3, 4. Let's go ahead with 3. And the gamma to 0.5. Something like that, I think is okay. So now it's okay. Let me just pause this video and I'll come back. 1 sec.